What are the challenges you think your generation is going to face when it comes to homeownership?
Actually being able to afford the home.
Like the prices are going to be just outrageous and people are probably not going to be owning homes anymore.
It's something that we should be talking more about with people. I was here last week and realized there were a lot of discouraged people about homeownership.
The housing crisis in Canada.
Definitely getting much worse.
Over $1 million for a single family unit.
It's unaffordable.
Property taxes have jumped dramatically over the years.
Prices are out of hand, expenses are out of hand, inflation. What do you think is the biggest factor that they can change politically to help sort of get rid of the crisis or help everybody, overcome this crisis? Today, my mission is to change the narrative around homeownership, specifically with Gen Z. Come with me inside and let's find out. In today's world, the dream of homeownership can feel out of reach for many. But for the Gen Z generation, the challenges are even more daunting. The word homeownership, or the perception of homeownership, what does that mean to you?
Like being able to fully pay off a mortgage and being in a state where you can start paying off monthly payments, that's like owning a home.
Just like a place that you call your own.
I think it's hard to kind of attain right now because of the housing crisis in Canada. I know there's a lot of homeless people right now and there's not much being done to kind of fix that.
The numbers are stark, the reality is grim.
While hundreds are unhoused in Toronto, living in shelters, some in tents.
Identified a 32% increase in people experiencing homelessness compared to the previous count in 2020.
Homelessness is an issue that impacts thousands of people across the GTA. And tonight, we are putting a face to the crisis.
And also everything's becoming more expensive right now, so it's a bit out there to think about owning a home right now.
It's gonna be hard, it's expensive.
Definitely getting much worse.
Is it?
Yeah, it's unaffordable around here especially, and it used to be not too bad around St. Catharines, but it's just getting worse every day.
We've been challenged with inflation, especially after the pandemic, and that's causing rates to be higher than I would call normal.
That really put a lot of stress on a young marriage.
I think that a lot of change can happen from a political standpoint. I think that if we could work together and start crunching down on this epidemic, then we can start getting things sorted out.
When talking about the housing crisis, what do you think is the biggest factor that they can change politically to help sort of get rid of the crisis or help everybody, overcome this crisis?
Well, I think like inflation, taxes, and just taxes in general, it's just everything's costing so much more than it was, and it just keeps going up. And if we keep increasing everything and not increasing job wages, I don't feel like we're ever going to be able to pay off anything like that. So.
Yeah, I feel like we don't really talk about it much in high school or university, so it's kind of a foreign topic for us. Because whenever we kind of go down that conversation, it's oh well, you're young, you have time, but it feels like we don't have time.
Yeah, at some point you're gonna have to face it, right?
Yeah.
So it's when is that happening? What are the challenges you think your generation is going to face when it comes to homeownership?
Actually being able to afford the home.
Budgeting.
With the prices of things, the inflation, so it's very hard for people to buy their own house.
It is pretty pricey out there, isn't it?
Yeah, I think money is a big problem.
Yeah, Gen Zs have it really tough.
The property taxes have jumped dramatically over the years.
Becoming a new homeowner in GTA, for example, or any of the major cities across Canada, you're looking at a uphill battle.
The discipline on a monthly basis to make sure that that money is there for the mortgage, the taxes, the condo fees, if it's a condo,
requires a significant down payment, also requires a significant income to qualify when you're looking at an entry price point of anywhere from $600,000 to over $1 million for a single family unit.
That's killing some of the young people.
Our student debt, like at this moment, like we have a lot. Like, don't you have to like pay those off in like 10 years or something? And then also like mortgages, having to pay those off, and then also having to pay off like car insurance and like kids if you want them. Like, there's just like a lot of things to invest your money into.
There is a shift in the mindset towards, give me the best I can get right now versus what can I afford and what can I pay off as quick as possible.
So like considering the fact that things are not like stopping at the prices they are now, like by the time we're ready to actually settle down and do that, I feel like the prices are going to be just outrageous and people are probably not going to be owning homes anymore.
Because like even with like jobs, it's hard to get jobs in the first place, especially for like young people. So even trying to make a steady income in order to like afford an actual house is like a lot of work.
I don't see how people are going to be able to have jobs that can pay for living in a place, like even a nice place, regardless if it's nice or not. Even living in a house, let alone an apartment, I think it's going to be very rare to be able to afford.
Groceries, right?
Well, I do my groceries because I live alone right now.
Yeah.
And I wish I stayed longer with my parents because it's so...
You get that independence, but you also have to, bear the expense, right?
If you go to the grocery store, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to see that grocery prices are through the roof.
What are steps do you think your generation can take to kind of overcome those challenges that you just talked about?
I think at a younger age, focusing more on like savings.
Probably saving ahead of time, like start saving now
Yeah,
for your home in the future.
Good call.
One, if you're living at home, just put away as much money every month as you can.
And I think it is important that, if you are in that Gen Z category, you're looking at what does it take to be in the housing market, because there's so many benefits of being in the housing market. One, when you're owning your own home and you're gaining equity, that's the fastest way to build wealth.
Right? Why are we always buying to the edge? So what I've noticed that everybody buys to the edge of their ability.
One thing that shocked me was that the young lady said today she actually got her first credit card, and that the advice she would have given to someone that is younger than her today would be that she would actually have gotten this early. So the credit card, she would have acquired it early. And I said, well, how? She said, well, I probably should have gone and spoken to my parents or people who have a credit card or people who've been through it before much earlier so that I can acquire it earlier. Everyone here has a credit card except me, is what she said.
I didn't get my credit card until literally today.
Congratulations on your first credit card. I met a lady over here like not long ago, and she was saying that she just got her Visa card today. It was her first day of having a Visa card, but she could have got it years ago, but she just never did. She didn't know anything about it.
I didn't even know what a credit card was until I came into university, and I was like, oh, everyone has a credit card and I don't.
Yeah, I feel like there's like people that don't give much information about it, like unless you really like ask like more into it, but nobody's just gonna give you more information, and I feel like that should be something that should be worked on.
I also feel like it's because people don't know, so I feel like informing or like creating like spaces for like people like us to like learn more about like finances and like saving.
Many Gen Zers face unique challenges such as student loan debt, stagnant wages. How can they overcome these obstacles, Eddie, to build resilience on their path to homeownership?
Don't get those college credit cards. Stay away.
It actually could stop you from buying a home for 4 or 5 years. Cash flow analysis is key.
That's the easy answer. We all know that sometimes debt is necessary. Student loans is a good example.
Eat the elephant one bite at a time. Start saving on a monthly basis.
Just be mindful of them.
Please, as a young person, stay away from taking on a lot of debt early.
Stay out of debt.
You actually brought a really good point. It kind of leads into my next question, is with regards to financial literacy and schooling. Have they really prepared you well for life at school?
I had a class about like financial literacy. I think it was in, civics and careers, but it was like, in grade 10.
In grade 10?
One class. And it was like pretty brief. So like it was just a little bit. And then after that, you kind of like carry on with high school and you kind of forget about it because you're like, oh, I'm still young, I still live with my parents. and then you're thrown into university and you're like, wait, what did we learn in grade 10 again? Like,
Do you think that the school system or the education system is properly preparing your generation for homeownership?
Like learning about homeownership.
The biggest thing is the lack of education, I feel.
I would say the educational system doesn't necessarily go out of their way to give us any form of exposure on like home ownership or anything like that. I feel like maybe back then, because it was like, I feel like it was a priority because people just always, there was like a pattern. Now like there isn't really, like no, I don't think so. They don't really help us in that way. We kind of just take it day by day. We don't know what we're going to do in the future.
Yeah, that's a good point.
After spending a day at university asking students what expectations they've set and see if there's any hope to cling on to.
What advice do you have for Gen Z individuals when they're navigating this mortgage application process and approval process actually?
Yeah, that's a good question, and you're right. It has never been so complicated with government rules. Obviously the high price points. There's so many different factors that you have to be educated on.
So the government has the first-time home buyer savings plan now. It's a new program, FHSA.
First-time home buyers have some advantages.
So you can put up to $8,000 a year up for a 5-year period, and that's a really great way to build the nest egg because you don't have to pay that money back.
With proper guidance, you could be a homeowner.
There has to be a drive. And to be a homeowner before 30, you got to have an insatiable drive to hit a goal. As an advisor, we try to create urgency. We try to create an extraordinary environment of what about, what if, it can be done.
So in saying that, what advice would you give to people of your generation if you were to say, hey, listen, let's wake up, let's do this, when it comes to overcoming challenges to set yourself up properly in light of what we just talked about?
Like talking about this with you, I would say try and ask more questions and, do some research.
Do your research.
Save your money. Don't spend it on stupid stuff. Save for your house. Pay your rent.
And having more effort of you just going to look for that information, it's something maybe that you can do.
So you think actually that people of your generation should also take the initiative to go and seek the information?
And being well informed, Vince, is the most important thing.
When you're asking the questions and getting the answers and a guidance through the process, be it at the starting point when you're just looking.
Seek out positive influence. Read about positive reinforcement. Talk to other people who are successful. As a Gen Zer, you have to say to yourself, I am going to live within my limits. I am determined to put away so much of my money every week, and I'm going to work, if I have to, a second job to build up that nest egg, because it is absolutely in my desire, in my mind, and in my heart to own a home. Some things change, the nuances change, technology changes, but the desire of the mind and the heart has never changed. If it's there, it can happen.
Even just talk to your parents, because I feel like one thing we forget is that our parents are like doing this actively right now. Like they have a savings, they have a home. So just like asking questions, even if it's to your teachers, parents, anything, but especially about like savings and like credit cards, I feel like are the biggest thing that our generation kind of just like slips at the back of our mind. So I feel like don't be afraid to ask your parents questions.
Parents have a lot to do with this. Are you instilling some of these qualities into your children? Are you talking to them about money at the age of 8 or 9 or 10?
But also some of the mom and dad, you call it bank of mom and dad, where there is equity, they do have savings, and they can gift that down payment to make it a little bit easier for that Gen Z to get into the housing market. And we're seeing a lot of that, Vince, as you know.
Now the parents are in on that plan as well. So that becomes
Exactly.
really a family plan.
Very well said, Vince. It becomes a family plan because there's nothing greater than having your children succeed.
We all want to like buy things that'll give us like temporary like joy and everything, but we don't really think in the long term. Like you could have money like right now and you'd be like, yeah, no, I can buy this and have this. I don't have the responsibilities right now, but will at some point.
Yeah.
You know?
People of your generation should also take the initiative to go and seek the information. Yeah. Do you think that's happening right now? No.
I never even thought about this until now.
Oh, okay. Hey, listen. I planted a mustard seed, okay, for you. It's the smallest seed.
They see the road to achieving that goal.
And the accountability to reach that road. The Gen Zer that does that are the ones that are going to succeed because they're stepping out of their comfort zones and they're stepping into a realm of the next stages of life. And that takes some courage, but that courage can be really rewarding if it's well done.
We're obsessed with instant gratification, aren't we?
Exactly, yeah.
Delayed gratification is sweeter. It really is. It just takes time.
Have time.
Yes. And you know what? The idea of wisdom, acquiring wisdom from those who have gone through it already. I mean, you can go and take the long road and find out the hard way if you want, but why not approach the ones who have already been through it, right? Does that make sense?
Delayed gratification is actually a scientific fact. They've done studies on this. And the young people that can delay gratification, I'll tell you, will do really well in life.
And then lastly, be patient, right? This is a process. You know, you're not going to wake up in the morning and say, I want to buy a house today and then go buy it, right? There is a process. There is understanding. There's education throughout it.
There's no easy way to get there.
You know, and unfortunately, sometimes it takes longer, but have a plan, stick to it, and I promise you, it'll happen for you.
We actually spend time creating the visual picture in their mind that you can succeed and here's how it looks, and then put yourself in that picture. That is unbelievably powerful.
A good team behind you, starting with your mortgage broker. I think that is vital.
When you can find a mortgage broker and you can find a financial advisor working hand in hand, then that could be very powerful for a young person.
One day it'll happen, okay?
Yeah.
That's it.
I never thought about it actually until now.
Listen, I mean, it depends on the priority it's in, right, in your life. Traditionally, it was, okay, finish high school, and then it was find a life partner, and then buy a house, job, you know what I mean?
More like a routine back then, but now, everyone just does whatever they want, whenever they want.
And now it's like school, then more school, and then more school, and then this debt, job, right? It's changed in the priority of things, so.
It's a journey filled with challenges, but the future belongs to those who dare to dream, plan, and take action. Your path to homeownership begins now.
Financial literacy is purely, at this stage of the game, taught in the home. So it is 100% the responsibility of the parents to make sure that they arm their children with proper financial literacy terms and understanding. Of course, it should be supported by the school system, but we're seeing right now, this is a challenge, right? So it's important for the parents to lobby the school system, but also in the meantime right now, let's go parents, let's start arming our children with this information.